If you're a Dragon Ball Super anime viewer and that's all you've seen, you assume that Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta was the absolute pinnacle of power that the prince would ever have access to. But the Dragon Ball Super story continued in the manga with the Moro arc and later on the Granola arc. And in the Granola arc, Vegeta found a whole new level of power that he couldn't even have dreamed of. And that is the power of a god of destruction. On today's edition of The Strongest in Dragon Ball, the series where we analyze the feats and powers of the strongest characters in the franchise, the topic will focus on Ultra Ego Vegeta. Without question, he's never been this dangerous ever in his whole life. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. And actually, there might be some that you're not even thinking of. Find out next. The thumbnail for this video was designed by Ashan. Check him out. I'll leave a link down below to his Twitter profile. If you're looking for an artist to deliver quality work, consider checking out Ashan. Check the link down below. The last time that I focused a Strongest in Dragon Ball video on Vegeta, it was when I covered the Super Saiyan Blue evolution form that we saw him do exclusively in the Dragon Ball Super anime. This form was not something that Toriyama had come up with, but rather the Toei Animation staff, and it was designed by Tadayoshi Yamamuro. But since then, Dragon Ball Super has continued in the manga with further arcs, and thus Vegeta would attain a brand new power, one that would be far and away beyond Blue Evolution Vegeta, in the pages of the Dragon Ball Super manga with Beerus as his teacher, and that would be revealed as Ultra Ego Vegeta. Now, obviously, Ultra Instinct is the godly form that's meant to represent the power of the angels and the state that the angels are in at all times. Ultra Ego could be seen as being the god of destruction version of that, but there are many differences between Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. And obviously, Vegeta is much more powerful and much more dangerous after being trained by the god of destruction Beerus. And it's not just because Vegeta himself got stronger, it's because of these new abilities that he now has access to and a new understanding of Hakai power. So you have to understand, first and foremost, that even if Vegeta did not ever use Ultra Ego, by the time we get to the Granola arc, Vegeta is much more powerful than he was during the TOP, just because of how much he had been training. He not only trained with the Yardrats in the Moro arc, but just his overall multitude of battles and training sessions with Beerus, with Whis, with Goku. All these things made him a more powerful fighter physically, but Ultra Ego adds another layer of danger on top of that. It's no secret to anybody, ever since 2013's Battle of Gods, that Hakaishins, aka Gods of Destruction, are a dangerous breed. Their job in the god hierarchy is to destroy. The Kaioshins are the gods of creation. The Hakaishins are the gods of destruction. And you need destruction and creation to balance the universe. That's the way it was, sort of the laws work in the multiverse of Dragon Ball. So Vegeta was tapping into a godly power far beyond Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. With those forms, they were able to access God Ki. But Hakai Ki serves a very specific purpose, and that is to destroy. And when we say destroy, we don't mean just blow up a planet, because Vegeta's been able to do that since the Saiyan arc. This is nothing new for him. We're talking about literally eradicate from existence. We did not truly understand the power of Hakai creatures or Hakai Shin until Dragon Ball Super, when we witnessed, and this is kind of a weird example, but I'm going to use it for the sake of this video to illustrate how strong Gods of Destruction are, when we witnessed Beerus' confrontation with Arale. In that episode, Arale humiliated Vegeta because Arale had gag character powers. Obviously, with power scaling, it's very difficult to scale gag characters because they can break the laws of the universe in more ways than one. But Beerus is actually able to eradicate beings from existence. In that episode of Dragon Ball Super, we saw him erase the ghost of Dr. Mashirito, which means that in the regular Dragon Ball world, if you get blown up, you just die and go to the afterlife. There you get judged by King Yema, aka Enmadayo. But the gods of destruction with their Hakai powers can eradicate you from ever existing, which means no resurrections. Presumably the only way to come back from a Hakai is with the Super Dragon Balls, based on the fact that the Super Dragon Balls are the most powerful artifacts in Dragon Ball Super, so they can actually overcome the laws of the Dragon Ball multiverse. I'm not going to sit here and try to argue whether gag characters are as strong as Super Dragon Balls, but for the sake of argument, I'm using these as examples to illustrate the power of Hakai. As Beerus was training Vegeta, the one thing that he noticed about Vegeta that he was unable to really grasp to fully become a complete Hakaishin, he needs to let go of his guilt. Vegeta has a lot of guilt built up from all the innocent people and civilizations he destroyed before his fight with Goku. And even after on planet Namek, we actually hear him talk about this in the Moral arc when they're on Namek. Vegeta is truly a changed man, but in order to access the maximum power of Hakai, you need to let go of that guilt and treat the destruction as being necessary, even if it really isn't. You have to, in your mind, do it for reasons that will not make you feel any kind of remorse. I went over this in a very deep video I did a couple of years ago discussing the Vegeta and Beerus connection. Now, the reason why I'm saying that to begin with is because I want to make it clear that there's not enough evidence to suggest that Vegeta has overcome Beerus with Ultra Ego. In fact, I don't think he has. I think that Beerus is still more powerful than Vegeta, not just because of his experience as a god of destruction and his presumably centuries of being alive, but also because he has truly mastered Hakai power. If Vegeta and Beerus were to go at it head to head, all out, no rules, Beerus would erase him easily. However, Vegeta may be creeping up on Beerus' power at some point in the future. We'll see what Dragon Ball tells us because of his new understanding of energy. Not just because of his first real understanding, although on a basic level, of Hakai energy, but also because of his learning of forced spirit fission during the Moral arc, where he was able to manipulate energy in ways that maybe even Goku doesn't even know how to do. And this is something that, alongside the power of Hakai, makes Vegeta insanely hard to beat. So even though I'm not going to go out on a limb and say Vegeta has surpassed Goku, Vegeta has abilities now that would absolutely give Goku a hard time, and he might be able to use those together to actually overcome some of the Ultra Instinct power. Maybe I'll do a video about that, breaking that down even more in the future. For right now, though, I want to stay focused on just Vegeta because he is the topic of this, episode of The Strongest in Dragon Ball. So, we see Vegeta fight Granola. Granola wished himself to be the strongest in the universe, and because of that, Granola learned a new understanding of abilities that he did not have anywhere near the amount of access to, just like Vegeta. Both of these guys are pretty much rookies when it comes to learning how to use their bodies in battle with this new power. However, with Granola, he has the handicap of having a dragon that has an incredible amount of power grant a wish to make him supersede everybody, every mortal, that is. And I want people to understand that Vegeta's inability to really tap into that super ultimate tippy-top Hakai power, which Beerus talked about, his inability to let go of his guilt when Granola was a representation of the guilt because he was, of course, a member of a civilization that the Saiyans destroyed. That's why Ultra Ego Vegeta didn't beat Granola. I know a lot of Dragon Ball fans were pissed because Granola beat Vegeta, but that's not really what happened here if you really analyze what Beerus said and watch the fight. Vegeta's own guilt is what didn't allow him to tap into the ultimate power to win that fight. That's really what it is, yo. So, yeah, I understand Vegeta fans want the W. In this case, though, it wasn't like Vegeta just got stomped by somebody stronger than him. This was a situation where his own character development, his own improvement as a man is what cost him the victory. Because obviously it's difficult for somebody who's not a legitimate god of destruction to be guiltless when they kill somebody. You have to be like some kind of a psychopath or a god of destruction to even be able to do that. So for Vegeta to really master this power, he is going to have to let go of the guilt. But Ultra Ego comes with a few other abilities that I think are useful. First of all, in connection with Force Spirit Fission, Vegeta can now manipulate energy, including the Genki used for the Genki Dama / Spirit Bomb, which we saw him do in the Moro arc. So could Vegeta take energy and convert it into Hakai energy? Possibly. We don't see this with energy, but we do see it with kinetic energy / physical energy. What am I talking about? We know for a fact that in Vegeta's Ultra Ego state, he can absorb blows. He can absorb physical blows and get stronger. That was one of the most interesting things that we saw from Vegeta during that whole arc, is that you can pummel him and beat him up and he just gets more and more powerful. Somehow his body is able to convert physical punishment into energy. This is way beyond a Zenkai boost. This is way beyond something that the Saiyans can do when they're near death. He can actually, at will, in real time, convert energy. This means that in order to defeat Vegeta, if Vegeta, of course, masters Ultra Ego fully, you would have to literally avoid using physical attacks or figure out some way to stop that conversion from happening. The reality is that Vegeta fans should actually be considering themselves happy because they've never been eaten this good. Vegeta's not in any way immortal. Let's not get that twisted. He's not immortal, but he has never been this hard to beat ever than he is with these new powers. He's just not. I mean, being able to absorb punishment, being able to use Hakai energy, albeit not as effective as Beerus, using it a bit more like how Topo used it in the Tournament of Power, that is something that has made Vegeta almost unbeatable. I'm not going to say unbeatable, but almost unbeatable. But wait, what about Black Frieza? But wait a minute, Danny. Black Frieza one-shotted Ultra Ego Vegeta and Ultra Instinct Goku at the end of the Granola arc. Yes, he did. But why did he do that? Because he caught both of them off guard. When he tapped into Black Frieza, his speed and power were so beyond what their eyes and their bodies could sense that he was able to surprise both of them with 2 direct blows to knock them both out. If Vegeta does not see the blow coming, he's not going to be able to absorb it and turn it into energy. So that's what I'm saying. Vegeta can still be beaten physically, but you would have to be so fast that Vegeta just could not see the blow coming. So that's why I was trying to explain he's not immortal, he's not unbeatable, but he's never been more difficult to beat, because just imagine having that ability in a real fight, a boxing or an MMA fight or a street fight. They can hit you all day and you won't even feel it. In fact, you get stronger. Kind of reminds me of the Absorbing Man from Marvel Comics, although maybe not as hacked as he is. Now, obviously, there is a limit to this absorbing power, because if Vegeta does take enough hits, he will go down. So he has to be careful as not to go too far with it. But still, this is not an ability Vegeta's ever had access to before. And it's also an ability that Goku has no idea how to tap into. I find it interesting that Ultra Instinct, a big part of it is being able to move and let your body move on its own, therefore giving you speeds beyond the speed of light. And I know that sounds wild if you're a physicist, but this is, of course, a science fiction action manga / anime, so you can expect that. With Ultra Ego, it's not about dodging. It's not about not getting hit. It's about getting hit, eating it, and getting stronger.
That's how winning is done.
And that changes your combat style, but it also fits Vegeta's combat style too, because Vegeta's always been a bit more of a brawler than Goku, so that does kind of make sense. At the end of the day, I feel like Ultra Instinct may be more useful in combat, but it also fits more with Goku's character. Whereas Ultra Ego really is Vegeta going back to his roots while not changing himself and regressing back to who he was. It takes an aspect of Vegeta's past, albeit one that he somewhat regrets as a better man now, and it brings it to the forefront, giving him new powers. And I always love the fact that there's duality here, and that Toriyama and Toyotaro chose to go back to the beginning to give Vegeta his best form yet and his strongest. This is the strongest Vegeta, and I would assume probably the strongest one we're going to get for quite some time, until, of course, he masters Ultra Ego. Thanks for watching.